Yes, we're back, and on this action-packed episode of the Grumpy Gits, we talk about the Andrew Tate social media bans and ask the question, is this justified or is it actually an attack on free speech? We introduce a new feature, Dear Grumpy Gits, with a tell-all letter of dolphin love gone mad. We talk to Sarah Dillium from Grace and Able about the new products available to help the arthritic community. We also look at the energy crisis and the don't pay protests and ask whether this is a good way to make voices heard or is it a strategy fraught with danger for those protesters. And of course there's the news that came that some travellers are using assisted airline travel to jump queues at airports, and we look at the real impact this is having for genuinely disabled passengers. All of this and our usual barrage of banter, jokes, and of course our world famous see you next Tuesday questions. So sit back, grab your favourite beverage and remember, don't be grumpy alone.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever and whenever in the world you are watching this, and welcome back to another fantastic episode of the Grumpy Gits. I am still your host, the glorious Adam Pearson, and as ever, I have not come alone. Oh no, that's not how I roll. Up first, he is an utter legend. 6'2", I googled it, still with a second name. How's it going, Chris?
I'm 6'3", mate, but I've had a good and a bad week. I'll start with a bad. So on Twitter, there was this lady who was in the Lake District, 3 disabled kids, all autistic as well. And she said Tesco let her down with her food delivery. Loads and loads of comments basically saying what she should do and everything. And I thought, oh, you know what? I'm not far. I basically tweeted, if you need food or supplies, let me know and I'll drop it outside your door. And this jumped up tosser decides to call me a potential rapist and all this other shit. And I was like, come on. First off, right, I did get my wires crossed because when she said she was in the Lake District, I got myself confused and thought it was the Peak District, which is about like 35 minutes away. The Lake District is about an hour and a half.
Oh,
so thankfully
right,
she didn't take me up on my offer. But yeah, that would have taken me best part of a day to get up there to drop shopping off. There's just so many tossers online. The good side of this week is Duncan actually. We were in a meeting the other night, and my chair, like, it always like leans forward like that. I told Duncan this, and he goes, "Are you sure you've got it the right way round?" And now my chair goes backwards like this. Now I got like a rocking chair.
So, since we've done this, basically, he's had his chair backwards, so it rocks forward and not back.
Literally stopping myself, headbutting my screen the entire time that I've had this chair, which is 2 years. Also found out my old chair does the same as well. So yeah, good and bad, but I can't underestimate this chair now. It's very comfortable.
I've never seen Chris or heard Chris speak so much on the Grumpy Gits.
No, I've just clocked up about 8 weeks worth.
There we go. Bad news, accusations on Twitter. Good news, can work a chair. Moving on to a man who I regard as a demigod. Are you going to nitpick about your height as well, Duncan? Or are we going to
No. If you say I'm 6'2", I'll take it, frankly.
Happy days. How have you been, good sir?
I'm upright, which was touch and go a couple of weeks ago, but yeah, I'm feeling pretty chipper as a result now.
Yeah, because, and I don't exaggerate, you nearly died at Butlins. Nothing to do with Butlins. They were
Yeah, can't stress
fun
that
for the
enough.
whole family. Still fun for the whole family. It's not what we're saying.
It started really badly that we got there, and the room, I can't describe how bad the room was. I'll put photos up, but it was just, they say it's COVID clean. I was scraping. My wife's pillow had washed blood stains on it. So it was like, it'd obviously been through a washing machine, but the stains were still there. The piece de resistance, like the couches were broken. It was just filthy. But the piece de resistance was this. The shower head was gaffer taped to the wall. I was like, oh, there's been an Australian here somewhere, because that's just pure Aussie, that is. Gaffer tape fix anything. But they moved us, and it was very nice from then on. I complained quite heavily about the quality of what we'd got. But yeah, last day I just felt, I felt a bit rough all week, but we were doing a lot of walking, like sort of, 15, 20,000 steps a day, and the food wasn't great and all that kind of stuff, holiday typical stuff. And I just thought, it's just that, I'll be right, I'll get home. If it still persists next week, I'll check out with the GP. But I got up on Friday morning, it was actually the morning we were due to leave, and I just felt really tightness across my chest here. Like you got some trapped wind or indigestion or something like that. It just wasn't pleasant. But my wife looked at me and said, "You do not look right. You've gone grey." I'm like, stop fussing, it's a typical sort of thing, I'm calling an ambulance. Don't be ridiculous. You don't need an ambulance. We don't need to call an ambulance for a stubbed toe or whatever it is. It's just, I'll be fine next week. It's just, and she was like, "No, you do not look right." And as she phoned 999, I was like, I need to be sick. Ran to the bathroom. About 2 litres of blood came up. And she was like, you could hear on the phone, "He's throwing up blood, he's throwing up blood." Our wait time reduced from 4 hours to about 5 minutes. They were like, because they somehow found us in Butlins and got dragged. It turns out a stomach ulcer, which was bleeding quite, and if I had attempted to drive home, I'd have likely bled out behind the wheel, apparently. So that was an interesting ending to a thing. But I never want to go through another endoscopy. That was just the worst experience.
Was it door number 1 or door number 2?
Door number 1.
Oh, thank God.
I don't know. I haven't had the number 2, so I can't really comment. But it was like because there was so much blood, they took like half an hour down there, where normally it takes 5-10 minutes at the most. And I'm just there vomiting all the time, all the way through this, and they're just like, "You're doing really well, mate. You're doing the most patronising experience." I mean, they're like, "Patty, like, I'm not fucking Buddha. You don't need to rug me for good luck. Just get this fucking thing done." And, it was just horrific. It was unsedated too, so you just felt horrific. It was ghastly. But yeah, I'm up right now, so hey.
I for one am glad you're not dead.
Thank you.
Yeah, it does sound like a typical Butlins weekend, to be fair. Throwing up blood and, the mess.
Glad you're not dead. Words I never thought I'd say on this podcast.
I'd say a good 60% of people have said the same thing to me.
I'm really not that fussed, to be honest. If you are either you're dead or you're alive.
Thanks. There's the other 40. Yeah.
And that voice you heard there is the final member of the Grumpy Gits. Some have described him as the thinking man's Andrew Tate. He is Simon Sampson.
I would like to point out I have been banned from Facebook before. I'm one of those people who can say I survived Facebook.
And other than your Tateisms, how have you been, good sir?
Yeah, fine. No trouble at all, really, to be honest. It's been a bit boring.
And you dropped your iPhone, I heard.
Oh yeah, my iPhone's knackered. Never mind.
How high did you drop it from?
Oh, it fell out my wheelchair pouch and just smashed on the floor. Yeah.
That's not high at all.
No.
I was going to say, like, if Chris has dropped it, he's
neglecting to mention...
You're sat down.
Yeah, he's neglecting to mention the 6 times he backed over it just to make sure it was finished.
Yeah, for the
so
insurance.
he could call his insurance company and say, yeah.
What have I been? I've been 4 for 8 for the past 9 years.
Do you want to hear the irony? You're still taller than my mother, even in your wheelchair.
I'm still taller than Adam.
I'm 5'6", you cheeky bastard.
Warwick Davis would give you a run for your money.
I'm also acutely aware that I just bragged about being 5'6", which is just tragic.
Most 12-year-olds boys would.
Yeah. All right, chill out. Oh, I paid you a compliment, goddamn. I said I was glad you weren't
alive
dead.
now.
Yeah. Fair enough, you've upset me now, gentlemen. You've all managed it. Anyway, moving on to our regular opening segment, CUNT. Chris, what have we got for us this week?
Okay, first question. From 1 to 4, name the best cook out of the Grumpy Gits. Let's start with Simon.
My chef.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
What?
Man of the people. Fucking bollocks.
Right, are you answering the question? Sorry, he's cosplaying again.
Well, it's certainly not Adam.
Where would you put Adam?
He may have been on MasterChef, but you don't know where he's come because he's not been on there yet.
In your personal experience.
Well, I can't cook, so I know that. Adam just gets takeaways. Duncan hasn't cooked for me, and the only one who's cooked for me is Chris, because he's cooked a few steaks. So I'm going to have to go with Chris on that logic.
Okay, let's go to Duncan next.
I think it's probably going to be Simon at the bottom. I reckon Adam may be a step above just because of recent experiences, and hopefully he's learnt something from that. There's a toss-up between you and I. When I really want to cook, I do a damn good job. I do enjoy proper cooking. The problem was that when you did those steaks, you assumed I was like these other two heathens, and I wanted it well done, like leather.
I don't think it was medium to well done.
It was far more well done than I would do a steak personally. But yours looked amazing. I sat there watching you eat this perfectly. It was like,
lovely.
So I'd put you and I on an equal pairing at the moment on the basis that I haven't really sampled your cooking at its peak.
Okay, Adam?
So, I am going to put myself at number 4.
Okay.
That's even when I can't reach the hob.
Yeah. I'm a worse cook than a man who can't reach the utensils. That's where I sit. Oh, should we give a blind guy knives and fire? Yeah, why not?
Right, let's hear your list, Adam. So you're at the bottom.
So me fourth, then Simon, then you, Chris, then Duncan.
What have I done?
I reckon when Duncan breaks out a barbecue, he does it. I just assume all Australians know how to grill.
That's
a good
very
point.
true.
That is. Let's move on to question 2. You obviously know your partners extremely well. What's one thing you can say to your partner that would make her incredibly angry? Let's start with Duncan.
Pretty much anything.
Go on, what's one thing that would really blow her top?
You can go back through the old Grumpy Dads episode of my weekly foot and mouth session that
Well, actually,
I'd love that.
Can I interrupt this session for a minute? I think we should get my wife over here because she's just walked into the kitchen to get a drink.
So what are you going to say to her?
Well, okay, so lovely. The question is from Chris, what is the one thing I could say that would make you extremely angry?
Good morning.
That's nice.
Oh, she says I don't make her angry very often.
What about when we were in the car and she was trying to rip your face off?
She doesn't try to rip my face off. That's just bickering.
Let's move on. Let's go to Adam next.
Thanks, Boris.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, go on, Duncan.
I think my worst from that was she said she had the body of a goddess, and I said Buddha.
Yeah, and you tried to worm your way out of that one as well, didn't you? By saying no, it's the thin
slender
Buddha.
Dash. It's like the very slender ones. Yeah, there's so many things I could say that piss my wife off. I often do them just for a bit of amusement, but she does the same back to me. So we have a healthy sparring match kind of relationship.
Okay, I got high hopes for this one. What would you say to yours, Adam?
I once said to the current missus, we were going out for lunch, and at the time she was vegan, and she was like, "Oh, are there vegan options?" I'm like, "Yeah, there are 2. Make do, fuck off."
Hi to our vegan audience.
Oh, they don't have enough energy to email. so it's fine.
So coming back to Kate for a second, okay, just to give you an indication. So Kate's thinking about getting some sliding doors on our living room, okay, but built in so they go into the walls. You know, the ones that go into the walls and pull out, yeah. And she goes, I don't know if I should get it done or not. I mean, do you want to get it done? I went, no, but you can get it done if you want to. And I gave her permission to do it, even though I'm not a big fan of it, because she wants to feel cosy in the living room. And she said, well, you didn't answer me properly because I don't know if I can get it done now or not, even though I gave her permission. How do you win against that?
So you give her permission.
Well, no, he's not.
Is Andrew Tate.
Yeah.
It's not. She doesn't need permission to do it, but what I'm saying is I'm agreeing with her to get it done. Okay, and then I didn't agree in the right way of getting it done. Yeah, exactly. That's my point, Duncan. I mean, how do you come back from that when you say, yes, go and get it done, and then she goes, but you didn't give me the right answer the right way? I mean, that angers me, and, you know, if I could say something hurtful to her, I would have done, but I couldn't.
So, in typical Simon fashion, you've made a question about what would anger your wife about you.
No. I'm asking a general question about my wife in all blokes on all women's situation is, even if you're in agreement, because you don't answer the right way, men are still in the wrong.
Oh no, I don't have that.
Me either.
No, me neither. Is it just Simon or?
Yeah. If the missus asks me that, I'll be like, just get the fucking doors. I don't care.
Yeah, just get the doors. Get the doors. It's fine.
This is not a hill I'm gonna die on.
They don't want your opinion. That is the fundamental, basic foundation. Women don't want your opinion. If they're asking, just say yes.
We've got a black tie do going ahead. You know, she's there trying on dresses, and she goes, "Do I look nice in this?" And there's no, you know, you have to say yes, even if she looks like a shiny ball.
Not how I roll. Not how I roll. I was once asked, "Does this make me look fat?" And I was like, "The clothes, no."
Shit.
We don't talk anymore. Hi, Amanda. Miss you.
I'm sure she's a big fan of the show. Let's move on
Don't say big fan after that.
Let's move on to question 3. How many reviews have you left on Snowball, and why haven't you done more? Let's start with Adam.
I have left precisely none.
And why haven't you done more?
Because I don't want loads of disabled people turning up to places I go and ruining it for everyone.
Didn't you go to New York?
I did go to New York. New York, 3 out of 5. There we go, done.
Yeah, but that's not on Snowball.
Not, but I said it on here, so that's even better.
Okay.
To be honest, in Adam's defence, you can't really Snowball Domino's delivery every night.
I'm sure that's a sex act as well.
It's just going to be loads of pubs in Croydon that I'm reviewing.
That's fine. That's fine.
Or write loads of fake ones under different names. It'll be like Sunset Strip Oxford Circus, 5 out of 10, and it'll be like, oh, Mr. D. Casburn, great place, great women, grr. And
okay, let's go to Simon next.
Well, I do quite a lot. Me and my wife go to do new places all the time, to do different villages. So we try to go out once or twice a week. So I think I've left about maybe 100.
Good work. Okay. Duncan.
I think I've done 4. I have done a few.
Would you like me to check the admin panel?
I would, because I don't think he's done 4.
Duncan Casburn has done 3. Chris, how many have you done?
I've done 2.
You have?
And I did them in Leicester, but I took some photos and everything today. I've got B&M, Morrison's and Aldi. And that's the end of See You Next Tuesday, Chris.
it is now time for our new segment. We teased it on the socials. Dear Grumpy Gits, Mr. Duncan Casburn, who has contacted us, who needs our help?
Well, we've got a gentleman who's reached out. This is one I found, and anonymous. I think you'll understand why he's kept anonymous as we do this. But I shall read out his letter. 2 weeks ago, I took my wife and kids on vacation to SeaWorld. It was the first thing we had done as a family since my wife and I decided to give our marriage another shot. And things seemed to be going pretty smoothly. We were all just happy to be a family again. You could have seen the looks on my kids' faces when we told them that I was moving back home. It was like watching them open gifts on Christmas morning. My wife and I were happy too. We had finally turned a corner. We'd started making progress. We were going to couples therapy and all that jazz. We decided, though, to hold off on lovemaking for a while until we felt comfortable being physical with each other again. Anyway, we were at SeaWorld and it was hotter than hell, so we decided to go to a show to cool off for a while. It was one of those shows where the dolphins jump up and do tricks and then the big killer whale comes and splashes everybody with water. And at this show I started watching the dolphins jump around and it just captivated me. I admired their soft, slippery skin. It was just so exotic. I'd never felt that way before. Looking at those soft underbellies and long, slender fins, it was like seeing the face of God. I came out of my dolphin-induced trance and wiped the sweat from my brow. It was then that I realised I had an aching erection. I became alarmed, but that only made it throb harder. For the entire rest of the show, I tried my damnedest to keep my arousal in check, but every time I took a look at the dissertations in the pool below, it induced a surge of hormones from my perspiring testicles. When the show ended, my erection still hadn't subsided, so I began to panic because we would have to stand up and leave, and my family would see my shame. So when people began to stand, I just stayed put. "Daddy, let's go," my kids said. Just a minute," I said. "Daddy has to rest for a minute." "James, you've been sitting the whole show. The kids want to see the shark exhibit," my wife said. "I know, honey, just give me a minute," I pleaded. "James, are you okay?" she asked. Yes, I'm fine." I could feel the sweat streaming down my face. I was sure that my eyes looked glazed over. My wife came and sat down next to me to try to comfort me. "Honey, what's the matter? You look..." She stopped when she saw the bulge in my pants. "Is that..." The look in my eye must have said it all. I gave a look back at the pool, and she must have understood because she stood up and addressed the children. Let's go on ahead, kids. Daddy's not feeling well." Then she looked at me with venom in her eyes and said, "He's sick." Eventually my erection subsided and I met them back at the car. None of us spoke for the entire car ride home. When we got home, my wife simply packed 2 suitcases for me and told me to leave. There was no use in saying sorry. So right now I'm living down at a Super 8 motel and I'm afraid. I'm afraid for my marriage, I'm afraid for my kids, and I'm afraid for myself. I just keep thinking about that day and wondered what I'd become.
Just wank it off.
Because that would go down well in SeaWorld. It's SeaWorld, not Seamen World, okay?
I don't know what to say to that.
I'm convinced it was the deep. I'm convinced the deep wrote it.
Could have been. Could have been. I wanted to hear if he tried to break into SeaWorld to rekindle that dolphin love that.
I think he's paid extra to go and swim with the dolphins.
Oh, Jesus. Imagine if he did that.
Do you reckon he has a subscription to the Discovery Channel now? He's just, the hotel. He's watching a lot of Discovery Channel.
No, it gives the term Discovery Plus a whole new alignment, doesn't it?
Daddy,
it's Shark Week.
Oh, Daddy, what's the blowhole for? I tell you what it's not for. And now you'll know why we cannot go back to SeaWorld. That's like the Aquaman deleted scenes right there. Well, I mean, how do we help this guy? I mean, I'll be really honest. When we came up with this segment, this is not how I saw it going. Yeah, dolphin love. Like, I mean...
What advice can you give?
None whatsoever. He needs psychological therapy.
This looks really disturbed.
I'm confused. I'm trying to think of a way out of it. I mean, why didn't he say that he was imagining something else. How did his wife put two and two together and go, it was the Dolphins? I mean, she's as messed up as him. I don't understand. Why wouldn't he just brush it off?
To be honest, to his wife, go out, buy a mermaid tail, work with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's do role play.
I reckon you do you, baby. That's what I say.
He's in a motel. What's he supposed to do? He's going to do himself, isn't he?
I hear dolphins are quite smart.
Apparently they're one of the few species on Earth, maybe this is the link, one of the few species on Earth that will have sex for pleasure, not just for procreation purposes.
I'm sure they wouldn't be getting pleasure if he decided to jump on.
I don't know, he seemed very attentive to their form. And
They might. I mean, I'll try anything once.
Oh, here we go, we're back to pandas.
No, anyway, moving on. I'll be honest, this segment has not gone how I thought it would. Well, there we go. That's the end of Dear Grumpy Gits. I hope we helped.
No, we didn't.
But we want your stories. Email us, tweet us, message us on Twitter, whatever it takes. Get them in. You can be anonymous. Trust us, we'll take it very seriously and do a very good job.
Segue. And speaking of fucking dolphins, Andrew Tate has been banned from Facebook and Instagram. I know that was a bad segue, but I'm sticking with it. What do we all know about Andrew Tate? Duncan Casburn, Andrew Tate, talk to me.
He's the type of guy I instantly despise, and I struggle with this. There's part of me that, I guess anyone who's any kind of connection to social media at the moment or reads the news or anything would have heard of Andrew Tate, right, Simon? But I get torn with this because there's this the cancel culture thing, which I really don't like, and this whole thing of it does feed into where does free speech end, censorship begin, and cutting people off. But the stuff he says makes me so angry. I'm just glad he's off the platforms. And that's what really gets to me. And his attitude towards women, his attitude towards, to be honest, toward humanity in general. It's a trend I see more and more. We're getting more and more extremes at both ends of the spectrum, if you like, of people pushing the envelope to be more shocking, more outrageous. And there are people, sadly, in this world that latch onto this stuff, and it becomes, he's gone viral in so many ways for all the wrong reasons.
Because Tate first shot to fame in 2016 when he was on Big Brother in the UK. He was like in a secret house, given a secret task, and even then he came in all hyper aggressive and quite full on. And his brother Tristan was on Shipwreck Series 8. And when you're the biggest dickhead on a TV show that also has Stephen Bear on it, you know that you've gone that little bit too far. And his Hustlers University is, I think it's $50 a month to get access to this Discord server of these kind of get-rich-quick schemes. And it's sort of like bros, sort of like the kind of Joe Rogan fans, probably, who are just all there going, yeah, but I did it too, woo, yeah. And it's all a little bit toxic. And on one hand, I'm like, as a businessman, I'm like, good on you for the hustle. And he was like, a world chess champion at the age of 4. He's a world kickboxing champion. I don't think anyone can take away what he's achieved on that level. But what you absolutely can do is look at his character and say no. And look at the way he talks about women and other people who he thinks might be beneath him. And call him out on it. And I think, as Duncan said, I think this is beyond cancel culture now. Mm-hmm. And I think the ideals and narratives he was weaving are dangerous for not only women, but for other young, impressionable men who might not be able to read between the lines and get the context. and who want to be a mafia like Andrew Tate at all costs. So I'm completely pro him being gone. For the first time I saw him, I thought it was Sacha Baron Cohen doing a new character. That's how extreme it is.
Okay, I'm going to come at this at a different perspective, because I'm a qualified journalist, okay, and I love free speech. I think you should be allowed to say what you're allowed to say, whatever you like, when you like, but you have to accept the consequences of what you say. I'm also concerned about what else is going on, because we're in a time where we've got so many food banks opening, we've got a fuel crisis going on, there's war in the Ukraine. There are so many big things going on that the little things are becoming ginormous, and you could just ignore this bloke if you wanted to. Now, I haven't seen these videos, I don't know who he is, and I can't say I support him or not, because I've got no idea of what content it is, besides from I've been told there are violent videos on there. And if there are violent videos on there, it shouldn't be allowed on mainstream media, because obviously the whole idea is you don't see that kind of content. You can put that somewhere else.
The problem is that social media now is so impactful, and they know it's particularly impactful on young people. We know it's been used to recruit terrorists and stuff like that. That's been something that's been documented and done. And you get these opinions, and this is where I struggle, because I agree with you, free speech is really important. But at what point are we allowing free speech to the point that it is damaging to society and damaging to young minds in particular? Like Adam said, how many young guys are watching this and thinking, oh, that's how I want to be, and that's what I want to say, and I'm going to start saying these things. Even down to like the small things he said about women drivers, and men are better drivers than women, and women shouldn't be allowed to drive. It's just this undercurrent of real misogyny. But it gets out there, and this is the problem I think we see in the States and stuff, is that there's this divide that's created. We get less and less in the middle, and we've got extremes only. What do you think, Chris?
I think firstly, these are private companies, social medias, the Facebooks, Instagram, Twitter. These are private companies, and they state clearly in their terms and conditions before you join what's allowed and what isn't. Andrew Tate broke the rules. Free speech is important, but that does not mean that you're free from consequence of the things you say. The consequence of the things he's done means he's been kicked off the platform. I don't see how we can argue that. It's not really being cancelled, it's the fact that he broke the rules that were stated to him at the start. Second thing, he's a fucking idiot. He really is. Everything is an act. Everything. I don't believe a single word he says.
He stated himself that he plays a character. He feels he plays a character.
It's so many things. It's the pyramid scheme he's running. And not only that, the people who come on board for Hustlers University, they're given like affiliate links then for them to push it out to their friends, and then they show these outrageous clips on TikTok, and all of a sudden all these young kiddies, because their mates are suddenly liking him, this is affecting impressionable young minds. This is young men who are on the cusp of moving into manhood, and suddenly they're being told women drivers are bad, women can't do this. If your missus has OnlyFans, you get half their money because she is your property. What the actual fuck?
Exactly.
It's bizarre. So in terms of him getting kicked off, the sooner he gets thrown into the sea and forgotten about, the better.
I do have trouble with this, because the whole idea of free speech is you will always come across, there'll always be another Andrew Tate, and you will always have, everyone will have the same opinion. The whole idea of free speech is you get to say what you like when you like. Obviously there are going to be consequences, but you will go to your death defending something against someone who is fighting against something that you'll defend forever, and they will hate you forever for it, and you will hate them forever for it. But that's the whole idea of free speech, is defend the indefensible of what you're saying.
Well, he's allowed to say what he wants.
Yeah.
It's just that he's had the platform ripped under for him. No one's stopping him from saying things. It's just that he can't broadcast it to the millions.
Well, because he says like utterly, just to give you an idea how ridiculous some of the things he says is, he says that if he has kids, he refuses to have kids that are nerds, And if one of his kids does become a nerd, then he will challenge them to armed combat and they'll fight to the death. Literal words that he has said.
And how many people on a TikTok video with that, and how many people would have put Top G, commentate, win, agreed, all of this, who were
And that's
15 years old.
He's allowed to say that. That's the thing. That's the whole idea of free speech.
He is allowed to say it, yes. Yeah. But not on that platform.
He's still a dick.
Yeah.
He's still a dick, but he's allowed to say it.
Oh yeah, no, completely. Just like we're allowed to say Andrew Tate, bellend.
Yeah.
No, he is allowed to say it. Of course he is. But he's not allowed to promote it on platforms where, in their terms and conditions, they've said you are not allowed to say this at our private company. It's as simple as that.
I'm so bored of people going, oh, cancel culture. Just like, no, it isn't. It's consequences of actions.
Yeah,
Exactly.
I will come back to my original thing. People are concentrating so much on the Andrew Tates that a lot of things are being missed, and a lot of things are going over people's heads because stories like this shouldn't be in the mainstream media, shouldn't be in the mainstream news. There are more serious issues going on, and this is just one of those distractions that we don't need at the moment.
I disagree with that. He has made such an impression on the male younger generation that we're going to have them coming through, talking to women the way he does, treating women the way he does. I think that is right up there with other stories that are going on.
Completely.
I agree with Chris and Adam. I think that absolutely, he should, they're private companies. They have terms and conditions. They're agreed to, and some of those terms and conditions are there not just to protect them as a company, but actually to protect people, because hate speech and stuff like that is harmful.
Spills into the real world.
Exactly.
Time now for a classic Grumpy Gits interview. We sat down with Grace and Abel to talk about fingerless support gloves, arthritis, and all around awesome philanthropy within the disabled community. Me and Jeff, take it away. Me and Jeff. Past Adam Pearson here with Past Jeff. How are you doing, Past Jeff?
I'm doing very good, thank you.
And we are not alone, are we? Hailing from Washington State, USA, we have the wonderful Sarah Dillingham. How are you doing, Sarah?
I'm good. It's really nice to meet you.
Absolute pleasure. So, first question, who is Sarah Dillingham?
My name's Sarah and I have rheumatoid arthritis, which I and many other people now prefer to call rheumatoid disease. It's an autoimmune condition where my immune system attacks the joints and soft tissues in my body. I spent a long time working in the corporate world. Then I left and decided that I wanted to start doing things to help other people with arthritis. I run an online community for women with rheumatoid called Women with Rheumatoid Disease. And I also run a company called Grace and Abel, making better joint support products.
And tell us about those joint support products.
We make orthopedic braces and compression products for people with arthritis. Arthritis is one of the leading causes of disability, and it affects enormous numbers of people, 10 million people in the UK, 58 million people in the USA. And many of the treatments for arthritis involve taking medications or surgeries, but orthopedic bracing and compression products can be really, really helpful ways to manage pain and swelling that don't involve taking yet more pills. We wanted to do something where we could give people great products that were really medically effective, but not just medically effective. I really wanted to make things that people actually wanted to wear.
I'm glad you said that, because the support braces that they wear are hideous. They look like medical devices. They look like medical devices. So is the aim to take this from the medical world and not replace it, but almost wrap it round the fashion world?
There's three elements. There's a medical element, there's a style or fashion element, and then there's also the comfort element, because there's another thing that's really important, which is that a lot of braces are made for short-term injury. So if you have a wrist brace because you fractured your wrist, maybe you're going to wear it for a couple of weeks and throw it out. But if you're wearing these products because you need to wear them day in, day out for a long time, suddenly things like what it looks like and what it feels like become much more important.
And I noticed they're fingerless. Is that a fashion thing, a function thing, or is it both?
And that's so that people can keep doing things they enjoy. So it makes it easier to type, it makes it easier to text, for example. We have a lot of people in our community who like doing crafting and knitting. When it comes to compression gloves, which are particularly great for rheumatoid, people want to have them on all day. Sometimes they even wear them at night. We also have people who might just wear them for a couple of hours when they're working or typing, whatever. But they need to be able to wear them and just keep being able to do their normal day-to-day activities.
A lot of people would think potentially quite naturally that your products are for an older generation.
Well, yes and no. Osteoarthritis, which is the most common form of arthritis, generally affects older people, but there are over 100 forms of arthritis and many of them affect people of all ages. So rheumatoid arthritis, you can really be diagnosed from childhood. So we make our products really to meet the needs of most people, but particularly women over 35, because that's when you start to get the biggest group of people who start to suffer from arthritic hand conditions.
Is targeting women a deliberate choice?
It's absolutely deliberate. Women are more prone to get arthritis, specifically prone to get arthritis in the hands. So women are 80% of autoimmune arthritis patients are women. On top of that, when it comes to hands with other arthritic conditions, particularly what's called CMC osteoarthritis, which is arthritis in the base of the thumb, that tends to affect women more. So we've started all our product range around hands, so it makes sense to market to the group of people who've got the hand conditions. We're in a world dominated by orthopedic bracing, joint support products that are really generally designed for athletic wear and sports. I'm sure you've seen all the packaging. It's always very silver and or a man holding a badminton racket, that kind of thing. And when I spoke to lots of women with arthritis, they were telling me that they just really felt that no one was making products for them.
Do you have any goals, any short-term or long-term goals for Grace Enable?
Our short-term goal is to continue building out our compression glove range. We've just received a grant to build out new skin tone shades in a range of skin tones, and we're also currently ramping up production on our wrist braces because we sold out of our last run. Right now, mid-term rather, we're working on a thumb brace product, which we hope to bring out in 2023. And once we've got those three things out there, we'll be looking to raise more funding to really build out our range. We've just launched our summer colours, and that came out of a vote. We had our customers vote on social media as to what colours they'd like to see next.
And what's the weirdest request you've ever had? Has anyone ever asked for sort of like LA Lakers gloves?
So I could give you one. I think you should do Viking runes up and down the brace. I think that would work.
I kind of love that.
or the affinity gauntlet from Avengers Endgame.
We do a few custom things for people occasionally. We've actually made some custom braces for people who've got very specific requirements. I'd love to do all sorts of fun stuff.
When people talk about Grace Enabled, what do you hope they're saying?
I hope they're saying that our products help them keep doing the things that they love to do. Our whole goal is to empower people with arthritis so that you can get on with your day. And even though you may have some limitations, you can still do the things that are important to you. So I really hope they're saying that these gloves help to relieve my pain so I can keep going on and carry on at work or carry on in my personal and family life.
It must be hard to get across, but how much of a difference does it make to someone's life?
It can be huge. We've always had really good reviews for gloves. We also have really good reviews for wrist braces. We had one lady who said that she loved our wrist braces because we use a lower profile type of Velcro. So, sometimes Velcro can be very, very scratchy. And she had told us that a previous wrist brace, she'd managed to get stuck to her cat with it. So she was absolutely thrilled to get this Velcro. The other thing we hear a lot of is that we have wrist braces that have a zip on them. And so we hear often from people how much they love that. It's a small thing, but it makes such a lot of difference. If you're taking something off multiple times a day when you go in and out of the bathroom, say, or wash your hands, just being able to zip it and unzip it. We hear from loads of people how much they love that, just that tiny little difference. We have a splint in our wrist braces that is ergonomic and very lightweight. And so we had a lady who liked it because she said she used to have to take her brace off to hold her kids' hands because of the metal splints, but with ours she can hold on to them, not worry they're going to dig in. It's all these tiny little stories that are just really, really lovely and heartwarming.
What motivates you each morning in running your business to get out of bed, go to work? Is it those kind of stories, or is there anything else that really pushes you and drives you?
Absolutely, those kinds of stories. It really is the thing that drives you. And the other thing that drives me is actually just a pure anger at how terrible disability products generally are. Not just bracing, but I mean this whole concept where they're just made to be, where there seems to be very little consideration for the people who have to use them day in, day out. And the comparison I always give is with glasses. You know, if you go to the optician, you go to buy some glasses and you can choose, you know, whatever colour you like or whatever shape you like as to what you prefer. But when we come to a lot of disability products that could include mobility aids, could include adaptive aids in the home, your choice is very, very limited. You've got this item that you either have to wear all the time or have in your home all the time, and nobody seems to care whether you actually like the way it looks or not, or whether it's even that comfortable.
If there are people watching this who are like, oh, you know what, I fancy some LA Lakers support club, or Wizards or Patriots or whoever you... Let's not start a tribal war here amongst NFL teams. How can people find your products and get hold of them?
Our website is graceandable.com. You can contact us on hello@graceandable.com. I'm always open to ideas and customer feedback. For people specifically in the UK, there's an amazing website called arthur.com, which is arthr.com. And they showcase small brands who are producing products specifically for people with arthritis. They're related to Versus Arthritis Charity. If you buy from them, you can get our products without having to pay for the shipping cost from the US to the UK. We even have on our website a page where we have some videos that tell you how you can measure your hands and how to find the right fit and what the product should feel like on your hands.
Well, Sarah, thanks very much for coming on the podcast. It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you and hearing all about Grace Enabled. And we're going to throw back to past us in our past studios with the rest of the episode. So now it's back to past us. Speaking of TikTok, there's this trend on TikTok that got bad enough to the point where the CEO of Heathrow had to say something. It started out, I believe, with a man called Wolf Jenkins, who put a video of him faking needing a wheelchair at an airport to get through security quicker. And because Heathrow currently have a 100,000 passenger a day cap, they saw requests for assistance skyrocket. Manchester Airport or either Manchester or Birmingham saw a 20% increase in people requesting assistance after this trend took off. The guy that uploaded the video is now gone to ground and is like really miffed that the world's angry at him, which befuddles me.
Speaking of consequences of actions,
completely. And Simon, I really want to get your take on this. As someone that needs that assistance, does it anger you when you see people like, and they call it a hack, like a travel hack?
Yeah.
To me, it's abusing the system and low-level ableism. What do you think?
Just to give you an idea, this has affected me in two examples. So one, Adam's been filming in New York for a month, and me and Kate, my wife, were going to fly out there to see him, to go, hello, surprise, let's go shopping. And I called up Heathrow, and they said they couldn't offer me special assistance for 3 weeks because they had so many people booked in. They couldn't cope with demand. So that stopped me going to New York to see Adam and just having a good time, basically going away for a while. The other issue was, on one occasion, a few months ago, when we flew to Spain, we were with Ryanair, and there were 6 people getting on in wheelchairs, including myself. I was the only one left on the plane to get off in a wheelchair at the other end because everyone else got up and walked off. There must have been 60 people in wheelchairs waiting to go through special assistance, and they had 12 staff. And because they didn't have enough staff, they had to keep pushing us around like trolleys. It's actually affecting how people travel. It angers me to bits because it's stopping people going away, it's stopping people getting on planes, it's stopping people having holidays, and people don't realise the consequences. And this TikTok bloke is an absolute twat.
Cut all of that up until he says he's an absolute twat. We didn't need the rest. That's brilliant.
There's an interesting thing with this, though, that how do you prevent it? Because by the problem I see is that you go in and prevent it. It then makes more hurdles for people to get through to get the special assistance they need. That shouldn't be.
This can be resolved very quickly. Just to give you an idea, okay, and it can be overhauled very easily. You either need a blue badge or a note from the doctor. Because when you call up special assistance or you book a form online, you say, "Have you got a note from the doctor? Can you present it?" Yes. Therefore, you can have special assistance. It's that simple.
Have you tried getting a letter from the doctor lately? I've tried getting letters from the doctor, and you've got to pay for the fucking things.
Okay. Or use a your PIP award, which most people take, or your blue badge, or something to say that you've got a disability.
Yeah, I had that in New York. I had like whole families turning up late and getting queue jumped. And I'm like, why do I bother? Remember the good old days that if you were late, you didn't get on the plane? yeah, they say, get there 3 hours early. Imagine, the show Airline would not have been made if airports worked how they do now. It's just like, oh, Jackie's late for a flight, but it's okay, because she's late needing a wheelchair, so they just shoved her through. And we're like, well...
This kind of feels like, someone parking in a disabled spot when they're not supposed to. There's so many dickheads about.
How's that?
That just... I see it all the time when I go to, Morrison's or something. And I got, the parent spaces with the kids. And you see knobheads parking there, but it's a lot less than... It really annoys me, because they're always in a BMW two-seater, and you're like, where's your kid?
Exactly.
Where's your fucking
car
kid?
Seat? Yeah, exactly.
Where's your kid,
to the roof?
Prick? Yeah. And then, even worse, I think the level up from that is the disabled spots. And then you see some knobhead who drives in, parks in disabled spots, runs to the cash machine, and then jumps back in and goes off. That is not what it's for, knobhead. So it just smacks of this.
I take photos of cars in disabled bays without blue badges.
This annoys Kate so much. Now and again, she is tempted to go and speak to people. We were parked at Asda, and someone parked next to us, and I'm going to say, they haven't got a blue badge, I'm going to have a chat with them, okay? And she was about to have a chat with them, they opened the door, and the bloke's got no legs.
Oh. but did he have a blue badge?
He had a blue badge.
We've got a disabled bay outside our house, because of my father. And whenever people park there, I'm normally on it. And one time, I was in a bad mood anyway, and there was a car already there. So I call the council to come and deal with it. They come and then I call the council, then I go off on my merry weekend jaunt with the lads. Mum calls me about an hour later and goes, someone came and put a ticket on the car. And I was like, good, fucking good. Talk to you, love you lots. Talk to you later. And then half an hour after that, she calls me again and goes, I thought you'd like to know they towed the car away. Oh. And I was like, good. And then 2 hours after that, she calls and goes, I also thought you'd like to know there's a single mum with 3 kids outside our house, all of them crying. And I'm like, good.
Film it.
Run out there with a bottle and try and catch some tears. And turn them into ice cubes so I can have some whiskey over it later. Park in our disabled bay. With your shitty Golf Mark II. Now, gentlemen, you may have noticed, hopefully, that things are getting expensive. Like, really expensive. Including our energy bills. We're about to get another price hike in October because the cap's been raised again. Some people are going to be going from hundreds to thousands in electricity bills. I guess my question is, where does it end? But also, there's an online campaign called Don't Pay UK, where if 1 million people sign up to it, they'll all cancel their direct debits for their energy bills. Is that a good thing? Is it a bad thing? And who is it trying to send a message to? Because BP have got, and these are BP's words, not mine, more money than I know what to do with. Is it trying to force the government's hand? Is it trying to force the energy companies' hand? How do we get out of this mess that we're in? What do you think, Chris?
I think it's a bad idea. I think Don't Pay is going to wreck a lot of people's credit ratings. Mm-hmm. And while the idea itself, yes, it would hurt energy companies, but it's going to hurt the end users whenever they want to apply for a mortgage or finance on a car. All these things are going to play a factor. If they can't afford their energy bills, they aren't going to be able to pay for a car outright or a house. The way to do it is to cancel your direct debit, give your meter readings every month, pay, but at the same time you can raise a complaint with the ombudsman, I think it is.
Ombudsman.
And basically, you don't have to pay while that complaint is valid. So, and also they get fined as well. So, there's a lot of ways to hurt the energy companies without actually hurting yourself.
I mean, they're posting ridiculous profits. So, I mean, something's clearly gone wrong somewhere. I was reading a very interesting article, I think it was in The Independent today, but basically saying that the government's just checked out at the moment in this switch over between. Nothing's going on. And no one cares. It just seems like the people who can do something just genuinely aren't interested. And the reason stuff like this is happening is because we're not allowed to protest anymore. So people are thinking of creative ways that they can protest that isn't, the traditional methods that we're all used to. But how do you make people listen until you hit their pocket? I get why people are doing it, but I agree with you totally. I think it's going to be, in the end, it's not going to hurt the electricity companies, the power companies, the fuel companies. It's going to wind up just hurting the individuals that are involved, and that is going to do more damage.
Back in the day, we're going back 20 years. I actually worked for British Gas for 4 years, part-time, while I was...
Is there anywhere you didn't work?
How many jobs have you had?
Exactly right.
He's been Batman, he's been at the council.
Can we talk about NASA next week?
Yeah.
No, so
when I was on the space shuttle, my chef was fired out of a cannon into space.
British Gas would lose 1 million customers a year, but also gain another 1 million customers a year. So whoever switches and changes, it won't make any difference to the electricity companies whatsoever. If it was nationalised tomorrow, prices would drop considerably.
I agree. I wouldn't do it. I think it's a ridiculous idea. I get the kind of the anger and frustration that has led to the inception of the idea, but it's going to do so much damage to individuals in the long run, and 1 million customers, that won't touch the sides for big energy. They'll be like, we've got all these cash reserves, we'll see you all in court, and you can pay it or we'll take it from you.
You have to remember there's only really 6 big energy companies in the UK. The rest are umbrella companies for the other big 6.
It's all down to Ofgem, isn't it? It's, whatever
this
they
is to do with
set
the price
cap as.
cap.
Yeah.
Why are the caps being changed? That's what I don't get.
First, I'm trying to remember who the head of Ofgem was, but she left basically over Ofgem because she disagreed with the rest of the board that said that she wanted to space it out over 12 months so it was more affordable to people. They were saying the shortfalls, we have to do it over 6, which has made the prices rocket. So, it's down to Ofgem and what they're doing, but it needs drastic action. whether it's done by the government or Ofgem are lowering that cap.
There was a tweet the other day by Ken Clark, and he tweeted that it cost €32 something for every megabit of energy that the EU use. Okay, and for the UK it was like £264 per megawatt that we use.
Weren't we in the EU at one point? Have I remembered that the good old days?
It is, but there is I think it's a fusion power plant, the largest in the world, that's being built in France, and we have signed up to have some of the energy from that. So whether that's going to offset, I think it gets finished next year. It's worth searching because it is incredible, but next year's next year, isn't it? It isn't going to address the issues now.
I'm terrified of these price hikes. I reckon I'm going to see a lot of friends and people I hold dear really start to struggle, who are already struggling or close to the breadline. I reckon this is going to be a real hit for a lot of people I know well.
It's not just like paying the bills at the end of the month and your rent. What you're taking away is, in essence, for a lot of families, you're taking away Christmas, you're taking away birthdays, you're taking away new school uniforms, new shoes. All of these things that, you got by and you bought these things on a budget, those are all gone.
It goes beyond that.
Gotta feel.
This is going to affect food prices. Stores are having to pay more to keep their air conditioning on and their lights
Businesses
on.
is a big one. Businesses, yeah.
It's really affecting all that, which means that they're going to pass that on through the cost of things. You've already seen it. My kids love Belvitas, a reasonably healthy snack through the day or whatever if they want it. And the special price at Sainsbury's was £1.50 for a pack of 6, pack of 5, pack of 6.
We get the same, yeah.
Now £1.75.
Flown up, yeah.
Just that, and that's on the special.
Yeah.
The percentage, that's a huge percentage increase. And that's one item. And when you spread that across your entire shop, it's nuts.
It is. Our weekly shop at Pearson Towers used to be about 50 quid, and now it's closer to 80.
Yep.
For the same stuff. We've not developed a passion for whiskey or wine in the interim. It's just Lurpak used to be £3.50. Now it's £5.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then my aunt was like, "Oh, we've tried the little version of Lurpak, and it tastes just as good." I'm like, "Fuck, it does." I love Auntie Jill, but hell no. And that brings us to another ending of another episode of the Grumpy Gits, or as they call it in France, the Grumpy Gits. I have missed this. This is like therapy for me, sitting down with you guys and putting the world to rights. And I think we did a good job. We did Andrew Tate.
I missed it. It's good to be back. That's what I can say.
We did Dolphins. I say did Dolphins, part of the problem. So, thank you everyone for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, follow us on all the socials. It's all bang down in the description. If you need our help, dear Grumpy Gits, we'd love to hear from you. Please don't make it about dolphins. From me, Adam Pearson. From him, Duncan Casburn. From him, Chris Lee Smith. And from him, Simon Sampson. We will see you all on the next one. And remember, don't be grumpy alone.